Tonight, a surprise announcement from Sarah Palin. She's resigning as governor of Alaska.
I love my job and I love Alaska, and it hurts to make this choice.
What's behind her sudden decision? I'm Maggie Rodriguez. Also tonight, a star-studded send-off from Michael Jackson. Also, keeping track of the governor of South Carolina, what he's doing as he struggles to save his political career and his marriage. And in the course of human events, a discovery of historic proportions.
This is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric.
Good evening, everyone. Katie's off tonight. On this 3rd of July, Sarah Palin is declaring her independence. In a move no one saw coming, she announced today she's resigning 2.5 years into her first term as governor of Alaska. She said she believes she can effect positive change outside government. This, of course, raises a lot of questions about the future of one of the few big stars of a battered Republican Party. Nancy Cordes begins tonight's coverage.
And I really don't want to disappoint anyone with this announcement.
Surrounded by family at her home in Wasilla, Alaska, Sarah Palin said she was abandoning her job because she has no interest in being a lame duck.
That's what's wrong. Many just accept that lame duck status and they hit the road, they draw a paycheck, they kind of milk it. And I'm not going to put Alaskans through that.
In a rambling, at times confusing announcement, the former vice presidential candidate said this move had been in the works for a while.
Money, millions of your dollars go down the drain in this new political environment. Rather, we know we can affect positive change outside government at this moment in time on another scale and actually make a difference.
Palin didn't go into detail on how she plans to do that, but she did allude to the hits she's been taking lately. Everything from a dust-up with David Letterman to a scathing new expose in Vanity Fair about her rocky relationship with the Republican establishment.
And I know when it's time to pass the ball for victory.
The former high school basketball star has also been on the defense in Alaska, where the Anchorage Daily News reported this week that the state has spent $300,000 investigating 15 ethics complaints against the governor, most notably related to state-paid family trips and Troopergate.
And this political absurdity, the politics of personal destruction, Todd and I, we're looking at more than $500,000 in legal bills just in order to set the record straight. The people who offer up these silly accusations, it doesn't cost them a dime, so they're not going to stop draining the public resources.
Palin's surprise decision is sure to fuel speculation that she is clearing her plate to run for president, though this approach would be a risky and highly unconventional political gamble.
This is very unusual, even bizarre. Governors just don't stop in the middle of their terms when there's no clear reason. Frees her to run for president, but now she has to answer questions about why she quit her job, about why she now is traveling around to make money for herself instead of working for her state.
Leaving the State House would give her the freedom to travel across the country, campaigning for Republicans and giving her valuable political experience she could never get in Alaska.
You've cited Alaska's proximity to Russia as part of your foreign policy experience. What did you mean by that?
That Alaska has a very narrow maritime border between a foreign country, Russia, and on our other side, the land boundary that we have with Canada. It's funny that a comment like that was kind of made to, I don't know, reporters.
Mocked.
Yeah, mocked, I guess that's the word, yeah.
The timing of all this is curious. Typically, when politicians make announcements on a Friday at the start of a holiday weekend with no notice, it means they're trying to bury the news, not herald the onset of an exciting new chapter in their political lives. Maggie?
Nancy Cordes in Washington. Thanks, Nancy. John Dickerson, also in Washington, is a CBS News political consultant. John, after listening to the entire news conference, I'm still not sure why Sarah Palin is resigning. What's your take?
Well, I think she's basically sick of being governor, sick of being the target of both the media and her political opponents who have launched all these ethics investigations. She's going to take the bullseye off her back, and now she can travel and she can go embrace her public. They are wildly in love with Sarah Palin in the Republican base. She can raise money for Republicans, build morale in the party, and if she wants a future in the national party, those are all important things if she wants to run again.
But 2012 is a long way away. Why do you think she chose to leave now?
It's bizarre, and there's no good explanation. And if she were trying to do away with the kind of speculation that she says has so irritated her, this is not the way to do it.
What about the downside here? Could her actions be seen as bailing on the citizens of Alaska?
The downside is that her greatest card used to be to charges that she lacked depth and didn't have executive experience. She could point to her role as governor. Now she doesn't have that anymore. She used to say, I could fight the old boy network, but today in her remarks, she clearly was sick of the fight.
CBS News political consultant John Dickerson. Thank you, John. Now to tonight's other major developing story. Michael Jackson's family has confirmed plans for a memorial service next Tuesday morning in Los Angeles. It will be televised, and thousands of tickets are being given away free to the public in an online lottery. Governor Mark Sanford of South Carolina left the state again this morning. This time, though, he told everyone ahead of time. Sanford is spending the weekend in Florida with his family. But back home, members of his own party are calling for him to resign for going AWOL last month to visit his mistress in Argentina. Here's the latest from Mark Strassman.
Yes. Governor Mark Sanford heads into this holiday weekend as adultery's latest poster child. His forgiveness tour has him in Florida for the 4th, trying to salvage his career.
His career is not a concern of mine.
And the marriage to his wife, Jenny. Both those fights took another hit this week. Sanford owned up to a handful of indiscretions with other women and called Maria Chapur, his Argentine lover, his soulmate. Late Night Comics spotted a live one.
So here we go. Governor Mark Sanford excuses. Number 10. Did I say hiking? I meant cheating.
Critics, including more than 30 state lawmakers and a half-dozen state newspapers, say a national punchline can't govern and should resign.
There's going to be more jokes, there's going to be more Lettermans, and we'll continue to be in a situation where I don't think the people of South Carolina want to be.
How you doing? Sanford vows he'll stay on, so some critics are studying possible impeachment.
We're all taking a look at the statute. We're all talking to our attorneys.
But this week, Sanford got 2 lifelines. A state investigation said taxpayers did not pay for his affair, and his wife is willing to reconcile, saying in a statement, Mark's behavior is inexcusable, but I am willing to forgive Mark for his actions. It is up to the people of South Carolina to decide whether they will give Mark another chance. Sanford, a family values conservative, was considered a Republican presidential prospect. No more.
That erratic behavior in office is what will be particularly difficult, even if people are willing to see that he's been redeemed in his private life.
A plea for redemption. That's how South Carolina's governor now spends his days. Mark Strassman, CBS News, Atlanta.
Still ahead on the CBS Evening News, the most dangerous job in Baghdad and the Marines who risked their lives to save others. Now the war in Afghanistan. U.S. Marines today push deeper into Taliban strongholds in the southern part of the country. They're facing little resistance as insurgents flee. The Marines plan to set up new bases so they can hold on to the territory they take. And they've been meeting with tribal chiefs to try to win their support. In Baghdad today, Vice President Joe Biden met with Iraqi leaders. He hopes to nudge them to settle their disputes over dividing oil revenue and political power. President Obama named the vice president this week his point man on Iraq. In 7+ years of war in Iraq and Afghanistan, more than 5,000 American servicemen and women have been killed. The toll, though, would certainly be much higher were it not for a group of volunteers with a special brand of courage. Chief National Correspondent Byron Pitts has their story.
They've become the most familiar images of the war. From the exact moment of impact to the aftermath of an IED attack against U.S. forces in Iraq and Afghanistan. Improvised explosive device attacks that have killed more than 2,300 Americans and injured nearly 23,000. Timothy Colomer suffered head and spine injuries when his vehicle ran over an IED in Iraq.
We've been blown up at a lot. It knocked us all out. Everybody in the vehicle was knocked out. However, after a few minutes, we regained consciousness and we continued on with the mission.
You say it so matter-of-factly that you were blown up.
Well,
that's what you did for a living?
Yeah.
Colomer made his living as a Marine Corps EOD TAC, or Explosive Ordnance Disposal Technician. His job, dismantle bombs before they explode. According to the Pentagon, it's a certainty that casualty numbers in Iraq and Afghanistan would have been much higher if not for the EOD technicians.
I did over 200 calls, but I know I disarmed over 150 bombs.
It's the life of an EOD tech that's told in gripping and often graphic detail in the movie The Hurt Locker. Filmmaker Catherine Bigelow directed The Hurt Locker.
What do you want people to take from this movie?
I think an opportunity to look at these EOD techs and put a human face on them and see their heroism and their bravery and their courage and perhaps the cost of that heroism.
At least 7 EOD techs have been killed in action this year. Dozens more injured.
Make sure you listen, make sure you're looking.
It's dangerous work 60 Minutes will document from Afghanistan next fall. Journalist Mark Bowl was embedded with an EOD team in Iraq. After his return, he said what he saw would make a great movie.
What's different about the EOD technicians versus the pilots versus special forces?
You have to have the physical ability to wear the bomb suit, and it's 80 pounds. But even more importantly, they have a mindset that enables them to be calm under extreme stress.
Stress Timothy Colomer knows all too well.
It's just like playing roulette. You really don't know when they're going to pop up or where they're going to pop up, but eventually one is going to go off and one's going to detonate and either injure or kill somebody.
Colomer, like every other bomb tech, volunteered for the job. It's not about the adrenaline rush or Hollywood, he says. It's about saving lives.
How does the rest of the military view EOD technicians?
I think up until this war, you could even argue that a lot of people in the military didn't know EOD existed. And then all of a sudden they became one of the most critical units in the war because of the role that they play.
The movie gets its title from an old EOD expression: get too close to the explosion, and you might end up in the Hurt Locker. Byron Pitts, CBS News, New York.
When we come back, planes, trains, and automobiles, the rush to celebrate the Independence Day holiday. A lot of Americans are spending this holiday weekend out of town, but with the recession, not quite as many as in years past. A AAA survey finds more than 37 million of us are traveling 50 miles or more, but that's down over 12% from just 2 years ago. Here's Kelly Wallace.
Ring the bell.
Alberta Burrell and her family usually spend the 4th in South Carolina.
Did you have fun? All right.
But this year they're riding out the holiday close to their New York home.
I looked at my 401k. I'm losing money in my 401k, you know, so we have to watch everything.
Nearly 2 out of 3 Americans are cutting back their vacation spending this summer, even though gasoline is nearly $1.50 less than a year ago.
The economy is not the only thing dampening vacation plans this year, so is the weather. This sunshine in New York today is a rarity. It's rained 24 of the last 31 days.
On the Cape in Massachusetts, soggy days translate into empty beaches and sagging profits. For some businesses, revenue is down by 25%.
They're going to need a strong July and a strong August and a very good September.
It's drought. That's the problem in Lake Travis, Texas, where favorite boating spots are drying up. The water here has dropped nearly 30 feet below normal.
We're out here probably 3 or 4 nights a week, and we're looking at in the next month or so wondering if we can still do that.
You better like the weather that you've had so far this summer because it is going to continue.
Lousy weather and a slow economy are creating a season of discontent. One bright spot, there are still 81 days left of summer to turn it around. Kelly Wallace, CBS News, Rye, New York.
In other economic news, it's been at least 3 years since the housing bubble started to burst, but the impact continues on America's financial institutions. Federal regulators have just closed 7 more banks. 6 in Illinois, 1 in Texas. That brings the number of failures this year to 52, twice as many as all of last year. The failures this week alone will cost the FDIC, which insures deposits, more than $314 million. Coming up next, a close look at the newly discovered copy of the call to arms that founded our nation. During the fireworks here in New York tomorrow, the Statue of Liberty will get all the attention any lady could ask for. And this year, she's giving back. Her crown will be open to the public for the first time since 9/11. It's 168 steps to the top, and with new, tighter security, only 10 people will be allowed up at a time. And finally tonight, a long-lost copy of America's birth certificate has just been discovered in an unlikely place. From London tonight, Mark Phillips.
From the place where the British keep historic documents, a birthday present for the United States.
And there we are.
Discovered a few months ago, buried in a box of other documents deep in the archives, the Declaration of Independence. It's one of only 26 surviving original copies of the document that were printed in Philadelphia on July 4th, 1776.
It was found recently interspersed within our colonial records, records actually relating to the American War of Independence.
The war had already been raging for a year when the Declaration was signed, and about 200 printed copies, the exact number isn't known, were sent around the fledgling United States to rally the troops and citizenry to the cause. Sometimes it was read out to crowds by riders on horseback. There's still debate about where the ideas came from, but the language was unmistakably American and still defines the democratic ideal. Of truths that are self-evident that all men are created equal, of unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The last time one of the 26 surviving copies emerged was 9 years ago, when it was bought for more than $8 million by a consortium headed by TV producer Norman Lear. All but 3 of the copies are in the United States. The others, right here in the hands of the old enemy.
It is ironic that actually we have 3 of these now, which is more than the US Library of Congress.
Is that right?
Yes.
But they say it's in good hands.
You'll take good care of it.
Of course.
Mark Phillips, CBS News at the National Archives in London.
And that's the CBS Evening News. Jeff Glor will be here tomorrow, and Katie will be back Monday reporting from Los Angeles on the memorial service for Michael Jackson. I'm Maggie Rodriguez. I'll see you next week on The Early Show. Have a great 4th of July. Good night.